everybody's attention real quick? Good. All right, this is Clint Anderson with Safeware. He's going to be doing our in-service on gas monitors. If you will, please keep side comments and everything to a minimum. We are recording for both of the other shifts and for posterity so that we can review this at any point later. He is going to ask, we've got 3 gas monitors. He's got one that he brought. A lot of this is going to be hands-on. Do want to try and get in groups of about 4. So he does want to get at least one group up here if possible, and then we'll split up amongst yourselves to work with the others. Other than that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are y'all today? Good morning. Tell me if I'm talking too fast, too slow. I'm usually a walker, so they're telling me I need to be in certain areas, so I'll try to do that as much as possible. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for what you do. I've been working with the fire industry for over 30 years, so I just personally want to tell you thank you so much for, again, what you do to keep us all safe. So I'm going to do a quick introduction, and then we'll go through the instruments. I'll hand some out. I really do like it to be an open forum, so if you have questions as we go, I want you to be able to ask that. We're going to do one session that's basically general use, how to do confined space entry, how to do detection, how to look at the peaks, fails, TWAs, all that. And then we'll have a second session that will include maintenance. So try to get you guys out pretty quick as long as you laugh at my jokes. If you don't, we may be here till tomorrow. So for you guys that's already been on 24, you should be laughing harder than anybody else. So all right. So let me get this. Tell me if I'm talking too loud, too fast, any of that. A little bit about myself. I graduated from LTI in 1991. My degree is in electronic technology, so I actually started out in the industry as a service technician that was repairing gas detection equipment. So I worked for a company called Neotronics for about 11 years. They ended up being acquired by Zelvager Analytics. Zelvager was acquired by Honeywell. Sometime during my term of 11 years there, they asked me to go into sales. I told them they were absolutely insane. I was so scared of it, I made them sign the document that my job would be held when I screwed it up so bad and I could come back to it. But to make a long story short, things went well there, and I ended up covering 26 states for Honeywell. At that point, we had one child, a second one on the way, and I was literally leaving on Sunday night, coming home on Friday night. So we made a choice for me to go into distribution after that, so I could be gone 2 or 3 nights a week instead of 5 or 6 nights a week. So it's worked out pretty well. After Neotronics and the acquisition of Honeywell, I went into distribution, and I have been there ever since. So for the last 18 years, I've been in distribution. So I work for a company called Safeware. My current responsibility is I'm the Southeast Branch Director. So I'm responsible for all service from Virginia to Mississippi, and I'm responsible for direct sales, rentals in Georgia and Alabama, and then I also have a couple of other salespeople that I'm responsible for giving them technical assistance. So I got to do this full part of the presentation. They want me to do it every time, so we're going to make this really quick. Got a president, we got 2 vice presidents. My inside support person is Angela Perkins. She is fantastic. So if you ever call me and I say, hey, just call Angela, order that filter, here's part number, price, whatever, you will absolutely love working with Angela. She's been with the company over 18 years. So we were established in 1979 by a sole proprietor. His name is Ed Simmons. So we've been in business over 40 years now. We actually have about 150 employees, and we actually started as an emergency response team. So we were the second people on site for 9/11. When that occurred, and we started trucking in all kinds of supplies to firefighters, law enforcement, and just aid helpers that was there. So anything from respiratory protection to gloves to protective wear gear, SCBAs, those kind of things. So we have offices throughout the United States. Your closest office is in Gainesville, Georgia. I've got 2 techs out of there and some administrative folks. At 4 different locations, we have mobile service centers, and Gainesville, Georgia is one of them. So we are really close to you guys for service. And out of all 4 of those, we are stocking and rental out of those 4 areas too. Okay? Thanks for putting up with this. We're almost there. So if you can imagine anything other than your trucks, we sell. So if it's SCBAs, thermal imaging cameras, turnout gear, shoes, gloves, helmets, anything you can imagine for fire, we do that. Okay? Any questions? Nope? Great. All right, here we go. All right, so Jesus and Moses was playing golf one day, and Moses gets up and hits the ball. It lands on a lily pad. I didn't tell you guys this at the meeting, did I? All right, so lands on a lily pad on a pond right in front of the green. So Moses walks up. What does he do? Holds his hands up, water's part. He walks out on dry ground, chip shot right on the green. Great shot, Moses. Well, Jesus gets up, he hits the ball, lands on the same lily pad. He walks up there to the pond. What does he do?
Walk on water.
There you go. Walks on water. There, see, we're interactive here. All right, great. So he walks on the water, hits the ball right on to the green. Great shot, Jesus. So the other player gets up, he hits the ball, lands on the same lily pad, but at that exact moment, a frog comes out of the water, swallows the ball. When it's starting to go back in the water, an eagle comes down, grabs the frog, starts flying out. Frog gets sick, spits the ball out, goes right on the green into the hole. Moses looks at Jesus and says, I hate it when you play with your dad. It's my best one. It's worse from there, guys, so sorry about that. I start off with one that's not too racy, and then seeing how the training goes, we go from there. All right. So if we can get in groups of, like I said, 4 or 5, we're going to have 4 total instruments, because I truly believe we learn better with hands-on. And so I'm going to hand out some instruments. And the group that's up here, I'm going to give you my demo unit, so it's going to be a little bit different than what you guys have. So we have 3 more. I'm going to be out of camera running here. Come on, Megan. I know it's going to be kind of crowded to do it, so, but we have a total of 4 units. So y'all can divide up however is most convenient as we step through this. All right, so as we go through the training, if you'll follow me on my button presses, I really appreciate it, because if you get ahead of me or behind me, it's going to take us a lot longer to train, right? So just hang in there with me as we go through it. So a couple of things. Sorry. Oh, nothing. Got it. All right. So a couple things on the Gx-6000 is it is up to a 6-gas instrument. Yours is set up for oxygen, LEL, CO, and H2S, and a PID. All right, so let's talk about those gases right quick. So for oxygen, we're going to measure in percent by volume. So if I have my glass of water here and it's 50% full, it's 50% by volume, right? All right, so anybody know what LEL stands for?
Lower explosive.
Great, awesome. Please excuse me if I'm stating things you already know and already trained on. So percent of the lower explosive limit. So if I'm in an environment that has 99% LEL, can I have an explosion? No. That's right. That's right. Until I reach 100% of the lower explosive limit for that flammable gas, I cannot have an explosion. All right, so for our CO and H2S and our PID, we're going to measure in ppms. Anybody know what ppm stands for? I think training class is over pretty much. You guys are good. All right, so technologies behind them. Our oxygen, our CO, and H2S are all electrochemical. Once they're manufactured, they are working, okay? Our LEL sensor is what's called a catalytic sensor, or some people may call it a Pellister beam. And the way a LEL sensor works is more of a mechanical operation. So it has what's called a Pellister bead that's mounted between 2 wires, and as it heats up and burns a mixture of flammable gas and oxygen that's in the environment, it changes the resistance on those 2 wires. When we measure the resistance on those 2 wires, then we run it through a Wheatstone bridge and an A to D converter, and we can tell you what percent LEL you have. Okay, our PID is what's called a photoionization. I just like saying that because I feel smart when I say it, right? I was like, yeah, I say one thing smart. Okay, so PID, that's a photoionization detector. Okay, you will have what's called a 10.6 lamp in your instruments. That means it can ionize any compound that is a volatile organic compound that has an EV rating of 10.6 or less. And I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes, a little more. So how does PID work? So it ionizes the neutron off the molecule, and it passes it through an optical lens, and it counts the number of neutrons and then reignites it with the atom and then pushes it back out of the exhaust. So it's called non-destructive sampling. So the same atom that comes in is the same atom that leaves, but what we're counting on is the neutrons that comes off onto an electrode. Okay? Sounds pretty good too, doesn't it? Yeah. We're practicing that. Last night I practiced that in the mirror for like 45 minutes. That went well, good. All right, so we have 5 operating modes. We'll talk about these. We have a normal mode, we have a leak check mode, inert bar hole, snap log. Really, the 3 bottom ones you're probably not going to deal with very much. Can a flammable sensor that I explained, can it work in a 0% by volume oxygen environment?
No.
Why not?
Because it can't burn.
That's exactly right. I have to have a minimum of 10% by volume oxygen for my combustible sensor to work. On the RKI unit, it will actually come up and tell you, once it drops below 10% by volume oxygen, and tell you that the flammable sensor is no longer operable. Okay? All right?
I don't want to be in an environment that's less than 10%.
Oh, you'll definitely need to be in your SCBA before you get there.
Something else is in there then.
Yes, it's something that's displacing it.
Something's displacing it. I don't want to be in there.
Just strike a match and see if it's flammable.
Yeah.
All right, so the PID library, and again, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this when we start pushing buttons. The PID library that you have in your unit is over 600. Before anybody that was trying to use a PID for volatile organic compounds, they would actually have to take a reading on their PID, then they have to look up the gas that if they knew what the gas they were being exposed to, and they would have to use a correction factor to figure it out. So, you guys got poultry processing here at all in your county? No? Okay. Bad example, then. You do? Chicken plants. We kill chickens. Kill or process them. So one of the calls, I live in Hall County in Gainesville, Georgia. So one of the things our fire department gets called out from time to time is ammonia leaks at the poultry processing plants. So when they go, they have to set their PID for ammonia.
Is
So
that urine? Or what's causing that?
I'm sorry?
Where's the
Refrigeration unit.
It's refrigerant.
Well, we do have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got,
We do have
ammonia
refrigerants.
Yeah, we got several plants with ammonia.
Okay. So, let's see if I should show that now. I'll get into that when we get into we can change. So what they'll do is they'll set up their library for ammonia, so it'll be a 1-to-1 readout for ammonia. Now I want to be super careful about this. Some salespeople might come in and say, so now it's set up 1-to-1 ammonia and it's specific. That is not true. It's still a broadband sensor. It's going to pick up isobutylene if it's there. It's going to pick up jet fuel. It's going to pick up diesel. But if it's only ammonia in the environment, it'd be a 1-to-1 readout for ammonia if I select that in my gas library list. Okay? All right? And we're going to go through your settings later, and we're going to make sure all your units are uniform and that it has the settings that you guys require, whatever they may be. Okay? So I'm going to shoot through some of this. All right, so I'm going to borrow, this is my demo, so I'm going to borrow this a little bit. If you look at the exterior of the instrument, at the very top right here, that is your pump inlet, okay? You guys will have a little orange thing, just as like a bendable wand. You can take that off and you'll be looking at exactly what I am, okay? Our pump is rated for 50 feet, 2 feet per second through a 1/4 inch IDT, all right? So what that means is that anytime I'm doing a remote sample, bringing it in, I need to also remember the sample time for how long it's going to take us to get the initial air sample from the end of the tube to our instrument, okay? So if I have a 50-foot section tube, how long is it going to take me to pull up that air sample into my instrument?
A minute?
100 seconds.
How long?
100 seconds.
It'd be 25 seconds, right?
Yeah.
2 feet per second.
2 feet per second.
2 feet per second through a 1/4 inch IDT.
So go slow.
Yep. I said that really fast too, so.
No, I'm saying like go slow with the wand.
Yes.
Take it slow.
If you've got a long 50-foot section of tubing, absolutely. So it's still a very fast pump when you consider it, because again, we're moving 2 feet per second as long as we're using 1/4 inch ID tubing. Okay, so you have a filter in here, and I'll explain all that maybe in the maintenance part. This turns 1/4 of a turn. You have a filter, an O-ring, and a screen filter, 2 filters in here. If the unit goes into pump fault, what will happen is it will flash and tell you that the pump is blocked. One of the cool things that RKI does with their instrument too is as soon as it picks up a microamp above a certain range that the pump is drawing, it turns off the voltage to the pump, and that keeps the pump from being burned up. a lot of gas detectors out there continually try to keep that pump running, and all it's going to do is burn up that diaphragm, because it's a diaphragm-based pump. So with RKI, they stop the voltage, and then you have to press the reset button on it to actually tell it that you have cleared the blockage and you want the pump to start up again. Then it will send voltage to the pump, and it'll try to reconnect to this 0.5 liter per minute draw rate. Okay?
So that would happen if something got clogged into the inlet hole.
Yes, if you actually stuck the end of the tubing in water, try to draw water up. You'll also see a filter. We'll talk about that a little bit later. It has a cotton filter in here, so if you get debris or water stuck in this filter, it'll cause this to go into pump fault. Okay? Any other questions on the pump? Am I talking too fast, loud enough, too slow? We good to go?
Good to go.
All right, we're running going. Okay, so on the front you have the display, sides you have the LEDs. Right here is all your touch pad. Underneath the power enter button, sorry, I got your unit away from you. That's actually an IRDA communication path. So this is what we use to communicate with our docking station or a dongle to download the information back into a PC. Okay, so that's this little infrared port right here. All right, so I'm going to flip the unit over and talk about your batteries. You have a dry cell and a rechargeable battery, at least I think you do. Yes, you do. So you have dry cell or rechargeable. The rechargeable will run for 14 hours continuous with the pump running. The dry cell will run 8 hours continuous with the pump running. Okay, so the first time you do this, it's a little difficult. If you'll locate, there's a gate right here on your instrument. You'll see an arrow telling you which way to push it. Once you push it that way, the battery will come straight out. Okay? I want everybody to be able to do that. You guys do it too. You see the lever? You want to push it, the arrow will show you which way. You hold it down, it'll pop up, and the battery will just slide right back out. I know it seems a little awkward for the very initial time, but it's designed so that battery will not come out unless you intend it to.
Over and down.
Yep.
Kind of over and down.
Everybody see how to do that?
Check.
All right. How long can we run on a fully recharged battery? Dry cell battery. Great. We run off 3 AA batteries for a dry cell battery pack. Okay. For a fully exhausted.
Lithiums or just standard?
Standard alkaline.
Alkaline battery?
Yes, sir. And on a fully exhausted battery, we can charge that in 3 to 3.5 hours to a full charge. Okay, if it's completely dead. All right. Any questions about the battery? All right. On the back, you'll also see a belt clip. You'll also see some lower gold contacts. I think they're gold. Gold looking, right?
On the battery?
Let's see. You got dry cell in. On their rechargeable ones, you'll see it.
Copper looking.
Yes, sir. So that is what charges up our instrument. So we place it in the charger. That's what will make connection with the charger and charge the device. Let's see if we have a charger here. We do. Okay, for me to open some of your...
Yeah, go ahead. Charging time from empty?
Completely exhausted battery, just a little over 3 hours. So this is a charger. You're just going to have a 120 volt AC plug that plugs into it. Looking for the hole, looking for the hole, looking for the hole. I was on the floor. I got it. Isn't that terrible? I can tell you all about a PID and I can't tell you where to plug in the fucking charger. Okay, so, all right, so, sorry. I kept that clean for at least 10 minutes, right? Okay, so here's the chart. I really should get up and take that. All right, we're going to clean this up a little bit for a few minutes anyway. All right, charger. So if you look underneath the charger, you can actually lace the charger device through there, and it plugs into the little hole right there underneath it. Okay, just a 120 volt plug. All right, let's see if I missed anything on the exterior. You can see all your audible lights. You have an audible light on the top, and on the sides, you also have a flashlight on top as well. Okay, and we'll go through that. Any questions on the exterior of the instrument? Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and power the instrument up. Now, when you power it up, we got a power enter button down there. My unit is gonna go into alarm because it's calibration due. So what you'll do for me, sir, is once it goes into alarm, you're gonna press your reset button. But before we turn it on, I think you've already set yours up to have leak check mode or normal mode, correct? Okay. So on initial turn on, it's gonna ask you if you wanna go into leak check mode or normal mode. So let me explain those two modes. Sometimes you get called out and somebody may say, I smell natural gas. I smell gas in my house, right? So we have the ability to take our LEL sensor and now measure it in parts per million. So you can use it as a leak detector. So we're measuring the same thing, a hydrocarbon gas, but now instead of measuring it in yards, we're measuring it in centimeters, right? So if I go into leak check mode, I'm going to be able to see my carbon monoxide level, and my flammable gas is now going to read in parts per million. And it's only going to be those two channels. In normal mode, it's going to read in percent LEL, and it's going to show all your other channels, your oxygen, CO, your H2S, your PID. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay, great. It is, to my knowledge, the only gas detector out there with a catalytic bead only, one sensor that'll allow you to do that, to go into that mode. Okay, so when we turn the instrument on then, it's going to ask us where we want to go into normal or leak check. Make sure your display shows normal, and then you press the enter button. If it doesn't show normal, you use the up and down arrows, okay? So go ahead and press the